money laundering has not just taken money out of the Canadian economy, of BC's economy, but has actively hurt British Columbians with the disruptions to the housing market.
Real estate in Canada is insane.
The average mortgage payment has gone from $1,400 the day that Trudeau promised he would make housing affordable.
How difficult and how unattainable that seems for so many young people right across the country.
$1,400 to $3,500. That's 2.5 times higher.
Can't even get in to play the game, let alone wish for that sort of a thing.
They found a house, they've lost out to someone else.
A lot of places are being snapped up, sight unseen, and paid cash for out of the country.
Money laundering has not just taken money out of the Canadian economy, of BC's economy.
Trudeau and his boys are getting really rich from high prices. Real estate prices are going up. If we look through history for the last almost 100 years, every single time the government has raised rates this fast and this viciously, it always led to rates coming down just as fast as they went up every single time. The low supply of homes, the immigration levels to Canada, the sheer size of the millennial generation who all want to buy a home at the exact same time because we all want a home, coupled with the fact that the government is winning the war on inflation, that we're already almost at the 2% mark at the time of filming this video, which will directly affect the monetary policy going forward, which means rates will come down meaningfully in the near future, and they certainly will come down. Now, to sum up that giant ramble, what it really means is there's actually a dark group behind this. Is it the same group that laundered billions of dollars into Singapore real estate, crushing the marker? Is it the same group running gambling operations in Vancouver to invest dirty money? Maybe, but this scheme has been going on for the past 20 years, and it prevents real estate from taking a giant dip. With what they're doing, it's actually impossible.
Dirty money funded more than $5 billion worth of real estate deals in BC just last year.
Just because the mob boss's spouse is not involved in illegal activity doesn't mean they get to keep the house.
British Columbians may be forced to go to court to prove that they themselves are not criminals, and in our view, that's simply unconstitutional.
Which may be so, but a lot of expensive houses are going to be bought and sold in this province before the government knows how successful this legislation is.
Now, ideally, the average 25-year-old would buy a starter home, but for millennials and Gen Z, that's not gonna happen.
I am 27 years old now. I have a full-time job. I worked really hard to get here. I have a college degree, everything like that. I'm financially responsible. And in 1 month, I'm gonna have to move out of my apartment because I can no longer afford it.
These generations are basically screwed, and Trudeau is doing absolutely nothing about it.
I'll be blunt as well. Housing isn't a primary federal responsibility.
If you're watching this and you don't already own a home, you're likely going to be forced to rent for the rest of your life. And how expensive is rent? Oh yeah, super expensive.
The system needs slaves. None of this works without wages.
This is not an accident. It's designed, specially crafted by a sketchy group.
No.
So, looking to get a house in Vancouver? Either you're one of the legal heroin dealers who can afford it, or you're daydreaming.
$300 billion.
Government corruption is nothing new. It's happened everywhere and it's happening all the time. For example, during the lockdown in Ontario that Ford heavily induced, he owned a label and decal business that printed all of those nice fancy COVID labels that you found in grocery stores and just about every business in Ontario.
We are now going to have to really tighten up once again.
During those lockdown years, his business absolutely boomed because every business needed to comply, was forced to comply, and put all of these labels and decals everywhere. Or how about Trudeau taking all of this money from Beijing for all of those backdoor deals that are only starting to trickle out now, but it's pretty clear we know he took them.
A massive wave of fu or die, or children of China's newly rich, that are turning the city into their personal playground.
Now in Vancouver, we know there's a real estate scheme going on because we have a lot of ghost houses, which means people are buying these houses in Vancouver, usually Asian investors, and they're leaving them dead empty.
Vancouver's empty homes tax is designed to stop property speculators from buying additional homes and then leaving them vacant during the city's affordable housing crisis.
They're not Airbnb-ing them, they're not renting them out long term, they're not flipping them, they're just holding these empty houses in Vancouver, waiting for values to appreciate. Now, normally this strategy is called speculation, and we see it all the time, especially in Toronto.
For $200,000 in the Greater Toronto area. 1 bedroom, 1 bath, renovated, and it's tiny. And it went viral just days after listing. What?
The rent is too damn high.
If you're a billionaire, a gazillionaire from Asia or Saudi Arabia, you don't care about the $2,000 a month rent that you could be getting.
So I don't have to work anymore. Yes, you f***ing do.
All you care about is sitting your money in safe Canada and getting it away from your greedy, sketchy, communist government. Now, we all know this is happening, and so does the Canadian government. So what did they do to stop this money laundering scheme, or at least make it look like they were? They implemented the vacant tax, or the foreign buyer tax. Now, this was put in to dissuade foreign buyers from buying up good old Canadian properties and making it look like to the Canadian population that we're doing something about it.
If you own a home in Vancouver that is left empty, or is only occupied some of the time, you may be charged tax on its value.
But like I said, these people are billionaires, gazillionaires.
$1,300 billion.
They don't care about tacking on $10,000, $50,000 in foreign buyer home tax penalties.
$1 million.
They could care less about 50K. See, they want to launder their money. They want to take the money out of corrupt communist China and stick it in safe Canada. That is the primary goal.
Beijing decided it had a friend and wanted to help the prime minister get elected. It interfered in 2 successive elections.
Now, here's my favorite topic, the unintended consequences, which is like shooting fish in a barrel at this point. But by bringing in these taxes in, what do? What happens when you bring taxes in? You make things more expensive. So the cost of construction becomes more expensive because the builders, they say, no, I'm gonna include this into the price of the property. I'm gonna increase it by 50 grand. And who is gonna be left paying for the extra cost because of these extra taxes? It gets passed on to the Canadian citizens, the very people the government is trying to help.
So they chose a pre-construction home, purchased from Mattamy Homes in March 2022, at the peak of the housing frenzy. Set for completion this year, it's time to figure out financing, and they face a major hurdle.
Now, why Vancouver is so attractive to Chinese buyers is because it's on the Pacific Rim. So geographically, it's close to China. And this home buying scheme has been going on for absolute decades. This entire frenzy of leaving China really started in 1997 when the British government actually owned Hong Kong and gave it back to China. Now, this sounds well and good, but the rich people in Hong Kong realized, now the communist Chinese government has jurisdiction over my businesses, my money, which is tied up in Hong Kong. I need to get the fuck out of here and bring my money somewhere else. It kind of sounds like what I'm doing right now by taking my money out of Canada and leaving for Florida. But with political instability, economic instability, a crazy communist government, it makes sense everybody would leave that country and put their money in a safe spot.
If only I could have helped you.
To 1989 in Tiananmen Square, where peaceful protesters were protesting against the communist government and they wanted more democracy, killed hundreds, if not thousands of protesters for protesting against the great government of China. Now, this was big news across China in 1989, and it served the message that if you go against us, the communist government, we will kill you.
A Chinese investment bank has revealed that its billionaire founder has gone missing, and that prompted shares in the firm to drop to a record low.
So you could say this trend of getting your money the fuck out of China even happened as early as 1989 in droves. But the worse and more unstable the Chinese government gets, the more these rich billionaires and multimillionaires want to exit their money. And one of the best assets of all times, especially one of the best physical assets, which we all know I love, is homes, real estate. Parking your money in quality real estate. Fast forward to today, we have TikTok stars, we have YouTube stars, all the new money, the new millionaires in Asia and even the Middle East are seeing Canada and what it offers in this great safety net, this rising price of real estate, and now they're all piling in as well. But see, the problem is Trudeau wants more immigrants. Even when we have the lowest supply of housing in a lifetime in Canada, we're all for immigrants coming to Canada. It's fantastic for our GDP. It's what makes Canada Canada. But the reality is these people are not coming here with empty pockets. This is a big, big misconception that even the conservative media, which I'm obviously a conservative, is perpetuating, that these lazy immigrants are coming to Canada, stealing our jobs, stealing. No. These people are sophisticated. They have degrees, they have knowledge, they have experience, and most importantly, they're coming here with money and they're buying homes. Very rarely do we find them renting home. No. They're buying homes. They're great citizens, but the reality is they're taking even more supply from the Canadians here, the millennial and the Gen Z generation who want to live in Canada because they grew up in Canada. It's even harder for them now to buy a home. Not only are they competing with other Canadians and other millennials and Gen Zs, now they're competing with every rich person on the planet.
I'm poor.
Yeah, you are.
The smart investing scheme of Quality Canada is getting out to the world, and now it's spreading across the country like wildfire, just like we see in the GTA and Toronto.
Because I can no longer afford.
All of these buyers are flooding their money into safety. Essentially, these buyers, like I said, don't care about fundamentals. They don't care about what the property can rent for. They don't care about what it can sell for 2, 3, 5 years from now. They're buying it for whatever friggin' price the realtor says, or whatever price needed to win the bidding war, to park it there, to leave it for generations. That's how the rich Chinese think. In generations, unlike North Americans who think about what's happening on Friday, can I drink and eat chicken wings with my buddy?
Hello? Who's
Lois, what the hell?
It might not really be some dark, crazy conspiracy to screw the Canadian home buyer to make prices go crazy. Maybe it's just the basics of economics 101 with supply and demand. So maybe it's just more of an idiot government rather than some crazy dark conspiracy.
We like to say people kind, not necessarily mankind.
Now, the way to really fix this, even if it's not some crazy dark conspiracy, is that we just need more business-minded people to, 1, run the country, that would be great, and 2, to run municipalities as the mayors. See, people in politics, running these governments, running these cities, have no idea what they're doing when it comes to actually running a business or a city. Why? They've never done it before. They just gone to political science schools, got their shitty degrees, and have no idea how to actually get shit done.
Just do it!
Maybe to really fix this, the easiest way to fix this is just to bring on more supply. We need to have more builders. And in order to do that, we need to make the building process maybe a lot easier, which I can tell you as a real estate investor who's done over 150 deals. I would love to build homes in Canada.
I have a prime minister, not a president. I speak English and French, not American, and I pronounce it about, not a boot. I can proudly sew my country's flag on my backpack.
To build a home is almost impossible and costs so much money that it's just not worth doing.
Income ratio, so kind of an assessed value to the family income ratio of about 10. So in Toronto it's around 6, and then in Halifax it's around 3.
To build one single family home in my local area of Kitchener-Waterloo, 1 hour south of Toronto, it can take up to a year and cost $20,000 to $30,000 just for a permit to even start building. Damn! Once you add on all the development charges and all these other charges just to get the house serviced and up and running, it really makes no sense to do business in Canada, which is why myself and many other real estate investors are catching on, and we're leaving Canada to invest in the US, to build houses in the US, where building permits take 2 weeks and cost as little as $500. See, if the Canadian government honestly wanted to fix the housing crisis, they would incentivize these types of regulations. Easier permits, faster permits, and lower development costs will be incentivized to build more. See, that's the basis of capitalism 101. Canada, in a way, is almost like a masked communist government.
Admiration I actually have for China.
Admiration I actually have for China.
The bottom line to all of this is that if you want to escape the grip of Trudeau, where it's impossible for your family to really build wealth and advance, you need to leave Canada. Now, I know that's a big, hard ask for a lot of people, and you don't necessarily have to leave the landscape of Canada. Just take your money out of Canada and do business elsewhere, where it's easier to do business. When Canada went on a crazy tyrannical rage lockdown during the pandemic, I fled to Florida with my family. We literally packed the car on 2 days' notice and drove down to Florida, where I could just run my business from Florida, where it was open, sunny, everybody was happy, no mask mandates, free for all. It was like the Wild West. It absolutely blew my mind. Now, if you want to learn how to build wealth for yourself so that if anything ever happens like that again, you can. And even how we can possibly partner together where I do all the work and you chillax and enjoy the benefits, just subscribe to this channel. It's all I'm asking for. Anyway, guys, I'll see you in the next video where I break down probably another conspiracy. Talk to you soon.